Welcome to Vegan Business Talk with Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business. Hello and welcome to episode 68 of Vegan Business Talk. I'm Katrina Fox, journalist, author, media and PR coach, copywriter, editor and proofreader, and founder of Vegan Business Media, a content, events and training platform providing success tips for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs. Before we go into the main part of the show, I want to let you know about a new online PR course for vegan business owners and entrepreneurs that I'm running. It's called Vegans in the Limelight and it starts in June. That's 2017 if you're listening in the future. And you'll learn how to get free publicity by getting yourself featured in the media on a regular basis. Now, the course is particularly for vegan professionals who can't afford to hire a PR firm or a publicist at the moment. And I'm running it because I see so many vegan business owners, authors and entrepreneurs missing out on golden opportunities to get into the media, either because they're not confident in approaching journalists because they don't have the skills, or they're pitching the media the wrong way. So I'm going to share with you the strategies and techniques for how to do your own PR. The course is tailored specifically for vegan business owners, so there'll be downloadable templates, case studies and bite-sized video training. You'll be able to post questions on the learning platform, which I'll personally respond to, and there'll also be 3 live group calls you can jump on to ask me anything about getting into the media, and I'll give you answers specifically for your business. So you're not going to be left to struggle along on your own with the course. So if you're keen to get your vegan brand in the limelight, head over to veganbusinessmedia.com where there's a link to the course with all the details. And I'll also put the link on the show notes page. In this episode, I interview Adam Sobel, founder of the Cinnamon Snail food truck and restaurant in New York. Adam worked as a chef for several vegetarian, vegan and vegan-friendly restaurants for more than 12 years before launching the food truck in 2010. Since then, he's grown the business into a vegan food empire that employs more than 50 staff. He creates the recipes, specials, permanent menu items, catering items, and plans new locations for the Cinnamon Snail. As well as a permanent eatery at the Penzie local food hall in downtown Manhattan, the company also has a catering arm and an online store, as well as providing wholesale donuts. The food trucks continue to service New York and New Jersey for select public events. The company's won several awards, and Adam is also the author of Street Vegan, a cookbook on vegan street food. When he's not working on the Cinnamon Snail, he teaches free yoga classes and rescues animals. In fact, he had a very cute Australian mammal on his bed during our interview, and you'll have to tune in to find out what it is. In this interview, Adam discusses why he launched a food truck business, the challenges and benefits of running a food truck business, the realities of New York's complex permit system, why a business should enter awards even if you don't win, the importance of listening to your customers and giving them what they want, not what you want, and much more. Here's the interview with Adam Sobel of the Cinnamon Snail. Hello, Adam, and welcome to the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
It's great to speak with you. So the first question I always ask someone is why they do what they do. And you've had quite an interesting journey because you worked as a chef at various vegan and vegan-friendly restaurants before opening the Cinnamon Snail food truck. So tell us a bit about why you made that move and what are your drivers or your reasons for running your business?
Well, I really got into cooking professionally at first so that I could learn to make very yummy food for my wife, who was vegan before I was. And in working at restaurants, I really started agreeing more and more with the ethics for why she had chosen to be vegan. And I myself became vegan a couple of years later when our first daughter was born, who's now about 16 in another month or two from now. So I started then my own business, like really with the hopes of turning a lot of people on to vegan food who would really never otherwise go into a vegan restaurant. So in the States, there's a lot of sort of stigma about vegan food, and people think it's either going to be very like health foody and bland, or really a lot of like fake this and that. And so I really wanted to bring extremely flavorful vegan food to the street to, turn people on to vegan food who didn't necessarily give a crap about it yet.
Fantastic. I love that.
Uh-huh.
And making that accessible, because you're right in what you say, there is this perception that vegan food can either be healthy or it can be expensive. And I know there's some amazing restaurants, on the East Coast, but, they're not necessarily financially accessible to people. So I love that you did that.
Right.
Took it to the people, which is amazing. So tell us a little bit about the name of the business and why you chose it.
Well, before we saved up enough money to buy like the most beat up food truck on all of Craigslist to turn into our food truck, my wife and I were running a stand for a couple summers at our local farmers market, and amongst the things we sold were cinnamon buns, which another name for our cinnamon snails, because they have that snail shell type of appearance. So more than anything, it was just kind of a cute name, and we went with it. But it's probably not the most business savvy thing. Like a lot of people think that's like all we do is cinnamon buns, and we do a huge variety of savory food and other pastries and stuff. So,
for sure.
more than anything, it's just kind of cute. There's not too much rhyme or reason to our name, or like to too much of our business decisions. We're kind of do what is going to be fun more than what makes a lot of sense all the time.
Well, that's a good enough approach sometimes as well. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing that. So tell us about some of your key challenges when starting up Cinnamon Snail, particularly as a food truck business. What were some of your key challenges in the beginning?
So when we launched our food truck, was really sort of just at the beginning of this trend of people having these kind of non-traditional food trucks in the U.S. And there really weren't, there weren't a lot of people doing it, and there wasn't very much information available for like what permits and licenses you would need to get and how you get about it. And in New York, they have a really broken kind of permit system, and you have to get permits through like a black market, and the city will tell you that there's a waiting list, but that waiting list has been closed for over 20 years, and it's very convoluted. So we actually launched our business outside of New York City in Hoboken for the first couple of years while we worked on obtaining permits for New York City, which turned out to sort of be like a blessing in disguise, because it gave us like almost like a soft opening period, both where I was able to figure a lot of stuff out before I was in front of like a giant audience doing it. And also, I was able to generate like a lot of kind of buzz because we were like even more elusive and, popped up at events here and there and weren't very easy to find. So by the time we actually got a permit for New York, there was already a lot of buzz about us, and we had won some awards at that point, and it was like busier than I could have ever imagined when we opened in New York. But I learned a lot of things before we got to that point. So it was actually very helpful. Some of those challenges kind of like helped lead the trajectory of the business in like a very healthy way.
Cool. Now that's good to hear. Now you touched on the permit situation. I believe at one point as well you closed the cinnamon sale because of those permit issues. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. So in 2015, basically the New York City permit market had gotten so complicated and expensive, and as food trucks really became a huge thing in the city, the prices of these permits were skyrocketing, and also the city was, increasing the measures at which they were trying to control the black market for these permits and stuff. So it just became, increasingly unaffordable, and also the city was like, even with all the permits and stuff you needed, the city was basically shutting food trucks down left and right. So, like for parking related issues and stuff. So it became like, with even this huge expense, impossible to know if you were going to be able to operate on any given day. And the writing just seemed on the wall that it was time for us to move on and open up some brick and mortar operations. So that's what we did about a year and a half ago.
Cool. So you've mentioned the permit situation, which obviously, is quite challenging. What other realities or challenges are there involved in running a food truck business? Because I think there might be people out there that think, it's too complicated to open a brick and mortar like a restaurant. Maybe it's easier to do a food truck business. So I'd love if you could give us a little bit of a reality check on what's involved in running a food truck business.
Yeah. I mean, I used to get, I still do get very frequent phone calls and emails from people who want to open up food trucks. And years ago, I was just like, yeah, you should do it. It's super fun. And now I'm like a little bit more realistic about it. Like, it is really fun, and you can really reach a lot of people this way. But it's also very, very hard to make it economically viable, even as an extremely popular food truck. We really became one of the most popular food trucks in the country, and it's very hard. It has all of the same issues that a restaurant deals with, as far as problems with staffing and suppliers and equipment failure and different stuff like that make the margins very, very thin. But then there's a whole slew of other issues, like, for instance, if the mechanics of the truck break down or the brakes need to be replaced, like, not only do you have that extra expense now, but you have to pull the truck off the street for the day or the week to get these things replaced. And in the meantime, your staff has no work, and you have no income, and you have, perishable produce going bad that you're going to have to throw out. So it's, while it is a much lower entry point for a lot of people than like building a restaurant and having conventional rent, in the end, the operating expenses of it are pretty comparable, if not worse, than running a brick and mortar restaurant with rent. In the city too, all food trucks have to rent, commercial kitchen space and commercial parking spaces. So a lot of the savings you would think you're getting from not, renting out retail type real estate, you're still having to rent out some kind of commercial real estate to do it. So it's a lower, build out and initial, startup expense, and it's very good visibility, but it really is hard, even once you're serving a lot of food, just to make the numbers work about it. It really is very tricky.
Good. Now, thank you for sharing that. So obviously you've decided to move out of just doing the food truck business. And like you say, you've got the brick and mortar location. You also do catering, you do wholesale donuts, and you've got an online store. So you've obviously diversified your brand, which sounds like a smart thing to do. So what were some of the challenges involved in doing that? Or I guess how it worked, because you'd already got the brand going as a food truck. Was it perhaps a much easier transition to open the permanent location and do these other things?
Yeah, I'll be honest. After running a food truck, and we had a couple food trucks in New York City for a while, and after that, I mean, anything is going to be easy compared to that. But I guess like the one challenge about it is that people have a very low expectations of what they would get from a food truck. So it's very easy if you're serving great food to just blow people's mind. Like they would never expect getting an incredible meal from a food truck. But people really have much higher expectations of what they get from a restaurant. So you definitely have to really like blow everybody's minds to keep everybody excited about it. And as well, one of the benefits of a food truck that you lose with a brick and mortar is that with a food truck, you get to serve different neighborhoods, every day of the week if you want. You can go to different communities, and that's really exciting to be able to serve a huge, audience of people. And, every Wednesday, that one neighborhood knows that's the one day a week there's a great vegan option in their neighborhood, and they all come out on that one day. And then every Thursday, you're in a different neighborhood, and those people know that's the one day. Whereas when you're stuck in one place, you really have to sort of keep your menu changing, keep things exciting so that the people who are there in that one neighborhood every day remain engaged and excited about it more so.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I mean, that's fun, and it's good to stimulate your creativity. Definitely, you have to keep on your toes and keep improving everything all the time.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think you've really outlined the benefits and the challenges of both. The pros and cons of both, which is great. Now, I noticed, I think on your website it says you've got more than 50 staff working for you. So, how do you go about finding and keeping experienced, motivated staff, particularly in an industry like the hospitality, which often tends to have quite high turnover?
It's tough. I'll be honest, and I'm not. I can't say I'm the master of keeping like our staff culture amazing. Like I think it's good, and we try to have this be a fun place for people to work. But food service is very difficult, and it's hard to have the margins where you can really afford to pay people as much as you wish you could. So it's tough. Like I can't say our turnover is where I'd love to see it. I think I have still a lot to learn about being a business owner. I'd worked in restaurants for about a dozen years before I started my own business, and I learned a lot about making really yummy food and engineering a menu and making some smart decisions about how the food should be prepared and even how it should be presented and marketed and stuff like that. But this is definitely my first experience with being people's boss, and I think I do okay with it, but it's definitely something I could stand to always improve upon. So I don't know if I have the ultimate answer. Like there's definitely some restaurants out there that I know have had the same staff for the last 15 years and stuff. And, there's only a handful who've been with me still like pretty long term. It's tough, especially in an industry where a lot of people in food service are constantly looking for ways to grow and learn. And, once you've shown them just about everything they're going to see at this one place, unless you're like constantly reinventing the food you do, people get bored and they want to move on and continue learning. And I understand that as somebody who's been, self-taught and learned through working in restaurants. Like you don't want to be stuck making the same dish year after year after year after year as a line cook or a prep cook or something.
Yeah, got it. And I appreciate your honesty as well. I think it's good for people to hear that. And I can certainly relate to what you're saying, being more of a creative person to then suddenly have to manage people or manage staff. My partner Tracy's much better at that than I am. I'm kind of like, oh my God, I've got to tell you what to do. But I'm getting better. And it is like, so you have to learn those additional skills. So thanks for sharing that. So we mentioned a little bit about, I guess, competition. Obviously we touched on in New York certainly as a kind of vegan paradise in terms of the eateries that are there. And while you're obviously pretty unique as being a food truck business, and I believe you still do occasional pop-up events, there's others starting up. So how do you go about standing out and, making a difference, a point of difference to maintain a steady flow of customers?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think something that's unique in like the vegan culinary world versus like restaurants in general is at least I don't view it as that we're in competition with one another. I think it's really a very collaborative effort amongst vegan restaurateurs to help, the mainstream culture around us gravitate more towards nonviolence. And especially in a city like New York City, where there's just so many people to feed, there's no way, even if there's 100 vegan restaurants in New York City, which I don't think there's anywhere near that many, even if there is that many, I mean, there are millions of eaters in that city every single day. And it's, I think we're very much collaborating on, the more vegan food there is, the more people are going to want to eat that way. And the more, I mean, if you even want to look at it on a kind of selfish level, then the more business there is for us all. But I think the end goal is to help people stop harming animals and the environment. So I look at it not so competitively as collaboratively. And if we're all working on doing the type of vegan food we all specialize in as well as we possibly can, then it's kind of a win-win situation for all of us. There's great food to eat and there's more options for everybody, and it's nice. We're building out a new location right now that should be open in another 5 or 7 weeks or something down in the financial district.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's about a block away from another vegan restaurant, but it's different enough food, and we actually encouraged it in another food hall. We encouraged the food hall, they were going to have like a regular sushi place, and we encouraged them to bring in a vegan sushi vendor instead, because I'd rather there be more vegan options there than, somebody selling, fish and stuff. So,
yeah, for sure.
and, so the vegan restaurant that's about a block away from our new location, we've already talked with them about, offering each other's employees discounts and stuff like that. And it's nice. I was there today for a juice while I was checking on construction, and they're really psyched. So
Fantastic.
I don't think it's like a competitive thing. I think it's really like how we can work together to evolve, the culture around us.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. What have been some of the marketing strategies you've used to grow the Cinnamon Snail brand?
Well, primarily we've done just social media since the beginning, and especially as a food truck, I mean, that's kind of essential because we're in different locations all the time. So you have to have a real-time way of letting people know where to find you. And, up until pretty recently, I never spent any money on any kind of advertising. But yeah, still, I mean, I think the best type of promotion you can do is just continue focusing on making your food and experience as incredible as possible. And then, your customers are so excited about it that they sort of do the promotion for you. And I think to me, that feels like a lot more honest than any type of paying for advertising, where you're kind of on some level paying somebody to hype you or pay, for some type of exposure. I think that's on some level it feels sort of dishonest to me. So it's not something I'm really attracted to.
What are the main social media platforms have you found to be most successful?
Well, for a long time, Facebook was very, very good for us, though. In the last 2.5 years, as they've really tried to capitalize more on having businesses pay to promote their stuff, our reach there has really withered down to very little, unless we, pay to promote something on there. We have 40-something thousand people follow us on Facebook. And, a few years ago, it was not uncommon for, one of our posts to be read by like 70,000 people or something. And now, unless we put some money towards it, like we're lucky if 1,000 people get to see a post we put on there. So that's become increasingly not that effective, though that is like when you do like pay to promote through Facebook, it has gotten really specific at who you target, a post towards, which is very helpful for things like recruiting for a job position where you can kind of like really narrow down what type of person receives that post in their feed. You can have it really just pop up on people who have professional experience in the culinary world and an interest in vegan stuff like that. And that's really super helpful. But yeah, as a general way of like getting word out about yummy food we're making, currently, like I think Instagram is a little bit more effective right now, though they're owned by the same people who own Facebook, and it's guaranteed to go the same way that's gone.
Sure.
We're still involved in Twitter as well.
Cool. And I love that you shared that you were able to use Facebook to target for recruitment, so not just necessarily to sell or to raise the profile.
No, it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's really smart. Now, I know that you've touched on the Cinnamon Snails, won several awards over the years, including Vendy Awards. You've been cited by Yelp and New York Post. You've got some fantastic awards. So I'm curious, how has that helped your business? And I wondered if you could just sort of talk a little bit about the benefits of vegan businesses entering awards, even if they don't necessarily win.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've won several awards that are really not specific to vegan food. That we've, like our donuts have won awards against other non-vegan donuts, and our food truck itself versus all the other food trucks in the city have won some pretty big awards. And to me, like, my purpose of getting non-vegan eaters to check out vegan food, whether it's mine or not, it really, like, increases the validity in people's mind when it's clear that, like, if you're participating at this event that's, like, all street meat type of food and people love the vegan food even more than the meat type of food, I think that's really gives a lot of credibility that has previously been lacking in vegan food that, have contributed to the sort of stigma people have in their mind. So I think it's really a worthwhile thing to continue to try to gain visibility for vegan food, not just amongst other vegan restaurants. Like, I'm less interested in participating in like a vegan burger showdown or something like that, because like, it's really a matter of taste. But I'd rather participate in a just burger showdown and have the vegan one be more exciting and more flavorful and more enjoyable than the non-vegan one. And to me, I think that benefits everybody.
Absolutely. No, that's a great answer. Really good advice for anybody listening. Make sure you enter your local business awards, whatever awards you can, because that's really good advice. Now, you're also the author of Street Vegan Recipes and Dispatches from the Cinnamon Snail Food Truck. Tell us a little bit about how the book came about and how having a book has helped your business.
Well, I've taught at culinary schools for a good decade or so, and I really enjoy teaching people about making vegan food. I think for a lot of people, that's another one of the reasons why they might not be going vegan. Some people don't go vegan because they're attached to certain types of foods they think they'll have to be without if they go vegan. And then some people just really don't know the first thing about making yummy vegan food at home, and they think it's like this intimidating, like learning a whole new language or something. So I still feel like I have a lot to learn as a chef. Like, I don't even really so much consider myself a chef. I still really feel like I have a lot to learn, but I've definitely got proficient enough with cooking that I can share some things that I know will help people make great food at home. So, after like a lot of coaxing, it came about that I wrote a cookbook proposal, and like very much by coincidence, one of the spots we had been parking our food truck at for a couple of years turned out to be right in front of Random House Publishing,
Cool.
who Clarks and Potter, who published our book. And so our book went out to bid. There were a lot of really enthusiasts in that publisher who knew of our food and had seen firsthand like the demand for our food and our following and stuff. So so it was pretty easy to sell the cookbook. It got kind of like competitively bid on by a couple different publishing houses, and I chose to go with Clarks and Potter because they really make beautiful looking cookbooks. And I know like the books I love the most have a ton of photographs in them and are just really visually appealing, and I knew they would do a great job with that side of it. So
fantastic. And how's it helped your business?
I don't know. I don't know whether or not it's helped our business. It probably has. Like anything that, increases the reach and visibility of your business helps. And I know, people from all over the country and all over the world have sent me pictures of my cookbook on like, the other side of the planet. And I cooked at a thing about a year and a half ago in the Philippines. And I thought nobody was going to know about our food or anything down there. And there were people coming up and bringing me copies of the book to sign and who were really psyched about us being down there. So I imagine it helps in some way, just kind of increase the visibility of it. But I just wanted to help people learn how to make yummy things at home. So I don't know.
Fantastic. Sounds like it certainly helped to increase your reach internationally. You touched on media earlier, Adam. You said because I know you've been featured in quite a lot of media. Did that kind of happen organically, like just because, you were out there and you developed this reputation, or did you take any steps to actually get some media coverage?
The only thing I've ever done in a way of attracting media coverage has been pretty minimal. Like if we're doing something really special or like opening up a new location or a new truck or have like a whole new menu we're launching with really different type of stuff, I'll send out like a press release to a bunch of different, bloggers and things like that. But all of the like television appearances and even like this show, like you came to me to do this show. So I think it just happens, people get interested in something and they contact you. So especially like if you're genuine about what you do, like I don't know, like I guess I don't know. If you look on the television, there's a lot of people who are featured who are kind of inauthentic, so I don't know. It's a mystery to me.
Well, I think you've got an interesting story. You've got a very unique kind of business. So, that always works well with media. And that's certainly what I always tell my clients. If you've got an interesting enough story and angle, then you can get that coverage. Just wanted to talk to you briefly about the use of the word vegan in your marketing and branding materials. Okay. It's something I ask everybody and I always get lots of different answers. So tell us a bit about your choice of how much or how prominently you use the word vegan or not in your marketing and branding. And why?
Yeah, I've actually tried it both different ways. So we have like two different food trucks, right? And one of them like advertises in very large letters on the truck that it's vegan, and one doesn't mention the word at all on the food truck. And otherwise they're like visually very similar to one another. And I don't really think it makes that big of a difference. I suppose I don't know. I have no problem with like using that word prominently. I think if people are aware that it's vegan and it's like so incredibly good and they see a huge long line down the block and the food looks amazing, like that's a really good advertisement for veganism,
yes.
whether you're open-minded to it or not. Whereas if you don't have that prominently displayed, like they might not have the same kind of impact. It just becomes like a random food truck to them. So, there's benefits of both, and I very firmly believe like the biggest results in changing our culture in the direction of people becoming more compassionate on a mainstream level. The biggest changes are going to come from lots of people trying lots of different angles about it, like some people being very gentle about it, some people being like somewhat in your face about it. And I'm fine with it all. Like, it takes, there are some people who I know I've influenced in going vegan, and there's some people who go vegan from watching like a really in your face type of documentary. So I think it really takes lots of different methods and intentions to get everybody on board. So I don't think one way is better or worse. I think it's like do what you want to do and what makes you happy. That's good.
Got it. Now, for those people listening to this, they've perhaps, they've got a day job, but they're, getting inspired, wanting to start their own business, perhaps even a food truck. What advice would you give to them, Adam, before they quit their day job to start up their own business?
I guess if I had any advice, it's, you really don't have a whole lot to lose. I mean, if you pursue it and it's a huge success, then great. Like if it's not as big of a success as you planned, like that doesn't mean that's like all you get to do with your life. You can keep trying all different things and keep improving what you do, and it's kind of a nice I really love like working for myself, and I find it to be very liberating, and you have a lot of freedom to do great things and to mess up a lot, and I really like that. But you kind of have to like have faith in yourself and in what you want to accomplish for it to work out well. So if you're going to do it, don't like just put your toe in and hope for the best. You kind of have to like dive in and really give it your all. I guess that's my advice.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think it's also getting uncomfortable with uncertainty, isn't it? Because obviously if you've got your 9 to 5, there's a certain element to some degree of certainty. You get your paycheck each month, whereas with being an entrepreneur running your own business, you've got to kind of get comfortable with having that bit of uncertainty.
Right. When I first started my business, I thought like I would have to have on our food truck, I would be cooking on the grill, and I would have, I'd hire somebody to work, the window kind of front of house position. And after our first day, which was somewhat busy, there was like some media attention to it. It was really cold out, and for weeks it was so slow. Like I couldn't afford to pay the person working the window anymore. So for the first couple months, it ended up being me like 100% doing everything. Like I would, get up really early, make all the pastries, drive the truck out to wherever I was going to vend from all day, and, work on the truck all day, come back, clean the truck and restock it. And it was like exhausting. I would maybe sleep between like 2 and 5 hours a night doing that, 6 days a week. And it took doing that for some months for it to become busy enough that, okay, now I could hire somebody part-time to help me, and I could fix this and that and start gearing things up. And it took like a level of commitment that I think a lot of people probably would have given up, but I was just really committed to making it successful, and I was not afraid to work really crazy long hours. And it sort of takes that, especially if you're going to start a small business without, a lot of capital or investors or anything like that. And, that's been really nice. Like, I haven't had any strings attached from people who are pushing me to engineer the business in one way or another, because I built it organically from scratch. So
fantastic. I love that you've shared that.
Yeah.
I think, sometimes when people see a really successful brand like yours, they don't necessarily realise that there's been all that hard work, particularly in the beginning. So I think that's actually inspiring for people to hear that even the most successful brands, such as yourself, really had to put those hard yards in to begin with in order to grow it, especially, like you say, if you haven't got, a ton of capital going in, whether through investors or not. So you basically grew that organically and put money back into the business and self-funded it, Adam, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, we've never had like investors or anyone who, has a share of the equity of the business, and that's nice. We really don't have to compromise our integrity, to somebody else's, drive to make the business as, like a machine for making money or something.
Yeah, got it. Now, I know you touched on earlier about having that passion and commitment, which are obviously important qualities for people to have to run a successful business, vegan or otherwise. So obviously there's a lot of demands on your time, and you mentioned there, particularly in the beginning, you had not so much sleep as perhaps would be optimal. So what do you do nowadays, or what specific steps or strategies or anything you do to kind of ensure that you've got a strong mental and emotional well-being to sustain being a business owner over the long term?
Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody, but I have a very serious yoga practice that I've had for about the last 15 or 16 years. And, I have a daily yoga asana meditation practice that I don't know how I would keep my head on straight without that. It really is very grounding for me to get up, and sometimes I have to get up stupid early in the morning to be able to squeeze that into my day. Like, a lot of people don't do it because they think oh, I don't have time for that. But I wake up at 3:30 in the morning so that I can include that in my day.
Wow.
So
making time for it and prioritizing it.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's you could get through the entire day and everything has been stressing about this and that about your business, and you've not taken any time to prepare yourself to get through the day in a way that's peaceful and focused and coming from a place of a compassionate motivation. You can just be so tangled up about all the headaches of your business without any kind of sanctuary in your day.
Right. And then that can lead to burnout, can't it?
Sort of difficult. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So that's really been super, super helpful for me.
Cool. So final couple of questions. What would you say have been the key lessons you've learned through running your business?
I guess it's a lot about being receptive to who you're serving and seeing what people are really loving a lot and learning from both the people you're serving and the people who are helping you serve, your staff. Really listening to them and continuing to refine and learn how to execute it better. One of the things I've really had to learn and has been a real work in progress is learning how to train other people to do what I want done the way I want it done. And, really becoming a more exact kind of communicator and learning to make very visual guides to create standard operating procedures that other people can follow and really execute the food exactly how you would do it, and even training others to create some of that training materials and stuff so that there's no question in people's mind who work for you, exactly how you want it done. And I think most employees really like that, like, being very clear on exactly what their job is and how they can do it, the best job of it. That's definitely been like a huge lesson I've learned through it, and it's kind of great. Like I feel like it makes me a better person in general. Like our children, me and my wife homeschool our children, and like this stuff that I do with my works kind of like made me a better teacher for my children, like knowing how to observe where people are at and what they're really receptive to and how to speak them in a way that's going to be understandable and useful to them. That's a really key thing, about being in business, like whatever business you're in, is really making it so that your team like gets what their purpose is and knows how they can keep improving. And people really crave that direction.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that a lot of businesses don't do that. And it's great to hear when a business does that, because you're right, it makes it really good for the people that are working for you to know what they've got to do and how to do it. And also, like you said, I love what you said about listening to your customers as well. So rather than just churning out products and saying, here's what I make, take it or leave it, it's kind of listening to them. Well, what do you want? How can we make it better? And I think that's what really helps to make businesses stand apart. So I love that you've shared that. So final question, what's your long-term vision for Cinnamon Snail and for yourself?
Well, for Cinnamon Snail, it's a business I don't want to expand indefinitely. I think there's probably a couple more locations that I'd want to have with it and continue keeping it small and under, pretty close controls. I have some other food concepts that I want to roll out that are a little bit more designed to be replicatable. But there's some things about the Cinnamon Snail that, truthfully, like I wouldn't want to magnify 1,000 times. It's a pretty complex business, and there's some variables that leave it possible for like food waste or for us to like run out of food on certain days. And that's kind of an inevitable part of that business model, the way that business is set up. But yeah, I mean, my personal goals, like, I'm kind of like all about every living creature on this planet being liberated from pain and suffering. Like that's the ultimate goal here. So, yeah, I mean, anything I can do, whether it's professionally or through my life to help us all, get on to that. That's what I'm about.
I love that. And we should just say, I know we talked just before we came on air that you're actually doing this interview with a wallaby, a rescued wallaby on your bed.
Yeah,
so
I'm
cool.
hanging out with him a couple feet from me right now. He's crashed out on my bed.
That's so funny.
He just did a wallaby yawn, actually.
Oh, bless him. It's so funny. I've had cats and dogs appear on the podcast. Like sometimes a dog will bark and want attention. I've had a kitten. Never had anyone with a wallaby. So, hello, little wallaby.
Yeah, well, they're actually very quiet. They don't have like vocal cords that make a lot of noise. But yeah, my family and I do a lot of rehabbing and like wildlife rehabbing and fostering of animals. So, I mean, right now I think we have like the all-time low of about maybe like 9 animals living in our house.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of have like a revolving door of, baby raccoons that we're nursing to the point that they can be released, or baby squirrels. We just had a whole bunch of last week. And it's nice for my kids who are homeschooled because it's like a great project that teaches them about medicine and anatomy and physiology and all this kind of fun stuff.
Fantastic.
And it's nice because it helps creatures survive who might otherwise perish.
Of course, that's wonderful. You've shared some wonderful intel and expertise, Adam. It's been fantastic speaking with you. I'd heard about your brand for some time, and I put out a recommendation in a vegan professional network or a group that I'm a member of on Facebook. I'm like, who would you like me to interview? And you came up from a couple of different people. So I'm really glad that we got to make this happen. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure. If you're in New York, come by for a snack.
I will. I'm going to be there.
Delicious snack.
I will. I'm going to be there in October, November. So I'll definitely be looking you guys up.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Yeah, let me know when you're swinging by so I can make you something good to eat.
Sounds fabulous. Thanks again, Adam. So that was Adam Sobel of the Cinnamon Snail. You can find out more at cinnamonsnail.com. And that link is on the show notes page at veganbusinessmedia.com/podcasts and going to episode 68. Now for our Vegan Business News Roundup. Ethical fashion is the subject of the latest vegan TED Talk style event by UK startup Vevolution. Co-founders Damien Clarkson, who I interviewed on episode 35 of this podcast, and Judy Nadal have been holding monthly sold-out events at co-working and event space The Trampery in Shoreditch, East London. The series of events, called Vevolution Topics, have vegan thinkers give talks sharing their stories and ideas for creating a better world. Next week, on the 2nd of May, and that's 2017 if you're listening in the future, includes Laura Stagerman, founder of vegan watch company Voch, and Alicia Lai, founder of luxury vegan shoe company Bourgeois Bohème, who I interviewed in episode 33 of this podcast. Nadal says, sadly, over the years, the fashion industry has been based on the exploitation of animals, people and planet. We're excited for Vevolution Topics to showcase a new generation of vegan businesses who are innovating to create sustainable fashion free from suffering. Amen to that. And I love the idea of these vegan TED-style talks, and it's great to see this initiative. So many otherwise socially conscious entrepreneurs have a blind spot when it comes to animals, especially in fashion, so it's important to educate people and showcase innovative vegan businesses. And the good news is that if you're not in the UK and you can't get to the live event, social entrepreneurs Clarkson and Nadal plan to make Vevolution talks available free on YouTube. Fantastic. The world's first 24-hour vegan drive-thru opens in June in Ontario, Canada, reports One Green Planet. The drive-thru will be the second physical location of Globally Local, a restaurant that serves vegan versions of popular fast food such as Big Macs, mac and cheese and French toast. Like Adam Sobel, this week's guest on Vegan Business Talk, Globally Local's founder James McInnes started out serving his vegan food from a truck. His McVegan's food truck will continue to operate alongside the two brick-and-mortar locations. Move over McDonald's, the vegans are taking over. If you check out the photos on Globally Local's website and their social media, it's so obvious that we don't need animals to enjoy comfort food. It can all be veganised and be just as delicious, more so. So let's hope this kicks off a trend of more 24-hour vegan eateries. Food technology company Nutriati has closed an $8 million investment round led by London-based Tate & Lyle Ventures with input from other firms including Los Angeles-based Power Plant Ventures, which invests in firms that use plants to provide nutrition in more sustainable and ethical ways, reports Food Ingredients First. Nutriati is focused on the research, development and commercialisation of innovative plant-based proteins, particularly chickpeas. The investment will help to bring its first two flagship products to market, a protein concentrate derived from chickpeas and a high-protein gluten-free chickpea flour that can be used in baked goods, pasta, snacks and drinks. Tate & Lyle Ventures managing partner David Atkinson said the plant-based protein market has been expanding rapidly in recent years and demand for non-soy, non-dairy and gluten-free proteins has been particularly strong. We're pleased to work with Nutriati to introduce the next generation of novel plant ingredients. It's always a pleasure to report on the continued innovation in the plant protein sector. Who would have thought that the humble chickpea would become so popular? Excellent. Finally, a new startup aims to get young people to go vegan by the time they're 25, reports Veg News. Better Eating International plans to create a database of 30-second video sequences that educate Generation Z about various aspects of veganism, including animal sentience, as well as practical tips on shopping. The company will distribute the short videos as ads on social media platforms, including Facebook and YouTube. To avoid censorship of graphic imagery, it will animate certain things, such as to show what happens in slaughterhouses. To make sure the videos are relevant to a wide range of people from different social, economic and educational backgrounds, genders, ages and ethnicities, the company will employ a community panel comprising people from all walks of life. The startup is currently running a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign to raise $97,500, and if that's met, it'll be doubled to $195,000 by an unnamed foundation. At the time of this report, they'd already raised nearly $38,000 with just a fortnight to go. How cool is this? Business ideas can come in all different forms, and this is pretty unique. I often say in my talks that we have to use sales and promotional strategies to sell animal rights to different demographics, and this is a clever way to do it and get young people on board early. So that's it for this episode of Vegan Business Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a review and rating on iTunes or any other platform you're listening on. Finally, I encourage you to head over to veganbusinessmedia.com, where you can find more resources, including details of my media and PR consultations, copywriting, editing and proofreading services to help you grow your vegan business. I'm Katrina Fox, author of Vegan Ventures, Start and Grow an Ethical Business, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode of Vegan Business Talk. Bye for now.